Chu Yulu sat in the driver's seat, looking serious. Stop bragging. Put on your seatbelt. Prepare to set off. A blue car and a black car both turned on their lights simultaneously. Lin Ke, Liang Jinming, and Ning Shi, along with Hu Yulu, are astonished, looking surprised as 4 cars in blue, red, gray, and black suddenly stopped surrounding them. Hu Yulu glanced around as the headlights illuminated the scene. Many people got out of the 4 cars. Leading them was a man in a red tie with a stern expression. The man in the red tie looked at Elisa's body and pondered. I didn't expect to be a step late. Elisa has been killed. Lin Ke sat in the car, looking outside seriously. You hide in the car. The 3 of us will go down and check, Lin Ke said coldly. Liang Jinming looked at Lin Ke, who was curled up holding his head. Don't worry, brother Lin. Jinming said, I don't need you to remind me. I hidden well already. Hu Yulu turned to look at him. The opponent has many people. Lin Ke opened the car door, stepped down, and stared at the man in the red tie. No matter how many of them there are, they are still just humans, he whispered. The man in the red tie looked at the 3 of them, his gaze unchanged. The 3 were a group. Lin Ke held a knife, looking at the man in the red tie with a serious expression. If I'm not mistaken, you are the dog sent by Vaik Songji to kill me, aren't you? He said. The man in the red tie looked at Lin Ke with a serious expression. That's right. But I didn't expect your processing speed to be so fast. I didn't expect you to kill her so quickly. However, from now on, you will not be so lucky. The man pointed forward and shouted, Kill them all! The group of black-clad men with swords rushed towards Lin Ke and the other 2, their faces serious. Lin Ke, holding a knife, stared at them and thought, these guys must be at least level E. Could it be due to genetic fluid? This is really exciting. Lin Ke stomped his foot and jumped, charging at the 2 men in black holding swords. He drove the knife strongly into the heart of one man, causing him to writhe in pain. Ning Shi gently grabbed another man's hand and struck hard at his carotid artery, dropping him dead on the spot. Hu Yulu was serious as she sliced straight into the chest of a black-clad man. At that moment, the man in the red tie aimed his gun at Lin Ke, who was attacking another black-clad man. The 2 girls screamed, Lin Ke, be careful. The man in the red tie fired. Lin Ke was hit, his face growing worse. He fell back, but fortunately he was wearing a bulletproof vest. With a face full of anger, Lin Ke glared at the man in the red tie. If I don't kill all of you today, I won't carry the Lin name. The man in the red tie looked a bit nervous as he glanced at Lin Ke. In his mind, he thought, this is terrifying. Even bullets can't kill this person. Fearful, he turned and ran towards the red car, surprising Lin Ke. Lin Ke seriously turned to Hu Yulu and Ning Shi, who were dealing with several men in black clothing. You 2 handle this bunch. I'm going after him, he said before rushing towards the man in the red tie. The man in the red tie opened the door of the red car, watching the struggling men in black. Stop that crazy guy for me, he shouted loudly. In front of Lin Ke, Ning Shi happily slashed down a man in black with his sword. You guys aren't even worthy of blocking my path. Hu Yulu also easily kicked away another man in black. The men in black cried out in pain and desperation. At this moment, Lin Ke jumped and climbed onto the roof of the red car belonging to the man in the red tie. He, anxious, wildly swerved the car in an attempt to throw Lin Ke off. The red car suddenly swerved sharply, throwing Lin Ke onto the road. The man in the red tie looked in the rearview mirror, seriously checking the situation. He saw Lin Ke lying on the ground, but he quickly got up, with determination in his eyes as he looked towards the car. Lin Ke said in a deep and sarcastic tone, I really enjoy having your incompetent lot come right to me like this. I will absolutely not let you off. The group of people in black was dealt with neatly by Hu Yulu and Ning Shi. Lin Ke stepped forward, looking seriously at Hu Yulu. Your driving skills are very good. You drive my brother away first. I only have one request, which is to ensure his safety. Can you do that? Hu Yulu looked at Lin Ke seriously and nodded. Yes. Lin Ke turned to Ning Shi. You come with me. Ning Shi happily replied, Okay. She was a bit confused as she walked alongside Lin Ke. What are we doing? Going to catch Vaik Songji? Lin Ke chuckled lightly. Let me borrow your phone. Both of them approached the black car. Ning Shi, feeling shy with her face flushed, handed the phone to Lin Ke. Don't look at the album. It's full of my private photos. As Lin Ke took the phone, he explained, Earlier, when chasing Vaik Songji's driver, I threw my phone into his car. Through the tracking feature, we can locate them. He continued, I've used this method before to find Elisa and get the bass ore. Hearing this, Ning Shi gave a thumbs up, liked it, and praised him. Lin Ke, you are truly a genius. Then both of them stepped out of the car, under the starry night sky illuminated by the glowing crescent moon. The scene shifted to a large and very modern building. This is the Biology Institute of the city, where Baek-song-ji is keeping Elisa and Bass-or. At this moment, in a certain room, Baek-song-ji is intently reading a document. Suddenly, a sound clanked from outside and someone pushed the door to enter. The person who just entered is a subordinate of Baek-song-ji. He bowed his head respectfully and called out, "Boss." Baek-song-ji looked up and immediately asked, "How did the situation get resolved?" "No traces left, right?" Contrary to his expectations, the subordinate broke out in a sweat and cautiously replied, "I'm sorry the mission failed." Upon hearing this, Baek-song-ji felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He turned around and snapped, "Failed? Huh?" The employee then explained the situation. When we arrived, Elisa had already been killed. Moreover, there were 2 accomplices with him. They were incredibly strong, and you were no match for them. He lamented, "In the end, I was the only one who managed to escape." Baek-song-ji asked with some confusion, "How did you manage to escape? With Lin Ke's personality, he wouldn't easily let you go." The employee replied, "I saw that the situation was not good, so I got in the car and ran away. He chased after me, lying on the car, but in the end, he was left behind." Even after the explanation, Baek-song-ji still didn't believe him and was suspicious. He pondered for a moment and said, "Something doesn't seem right." He turned to ask, "Are you saying that Lin Ke caught up with you and then you drove off and left him behind?" The employee immediately nodded, "Yes." Upon hearing this, Baek-song-ji was startled and realized the issue, exclaiming, "It's a trap." Immediately, he closed the box containing the important item and picked up the black box with one hand. He reached into his coat pocket with the other hand as if searching for something. He continued, "Over the years, you have really done a lot for me. That's why I always considered you a trusted confidant. I never expected." What Baek-song-ji pulled out was a handgun. He pointed it straight at his subordinate. The employee panicked at the sight and instinctively raised both hands. At this moment, Baek-song-ji's expression suddenly darkened. He showed no mercy and said coldly, "You have made a mistake in this matter. You've messed up my important task, so I cannot keep you." A gunshot rang out. Baek-song-ji had truly sent his trusted subordinate to hell without hesitation. The man was caught off guard and did not resist, clearly hit by the bullet, and lost his life on the spot. There were not only 2 people in the room. The other staff members who witnessed the scene saw their colleague lying lifeless on the floor and were filled with fear. Everyone was sweating profusely, but absolutely no one dared to speak up. Then, Baek-song-ji took out a walkie-talkie and ordered, "Everyone assemble." Suddenly, as soon as he finished speaking, the door burst open. The person who entered was none other than Lin Ke. He was startled, still sweating profusely, but tried to remain calm and said, "You truly did not disappoint me, you've come." Lin Ke replied, "It seems you guessed that I would come here early." At this moment, Baek-song-ji looked at the subordinate he had shot lying motionless on the floor. "Earlier I told you with your abilities, you wouldn't spare anyone. He cannot escape from your grasp." At this point, Lin Ke did not want to waste any more time. He said, "You will become the highest-ranking scientist of the Va family. Indeed, you have something unique. Hand over the thing in your hand to me, and I will grant you a peaceful death." This statement was indeed a mix of threats and persuasion, but Baek-song-ji was certainly not willing to easily hand over his belongings. He laughed boisterously. "Ha ha, I have hidden in the Va family for over 10 years, and then spent another 14 years quietly developing my research. Do you think I will easily let go of it now?" Upon hearing this response, Lin Ke was not surprised at all. He shrugged and casually said, "Of course not. When a kite dies, it still struggles for a while, let alone you." As soon as he finished speaking, suddenly from behind Lin Ke, someone rushed forward attempting to ambush him. It was Baek-song-ji's henchmen, and not just one, but several others charged at him. They all had guns in their hands. When Baek-song-ji saw his group had arrived, the expression on his face seemed to become much more confident. He spoke to Lin Ke. "If you had come a minute later, I would have left. But you came at just the right time. Even if you reach level D, you still can't be a match for a gun. If you agree to cooperate with me now, I guarantee you won't die." Clearly, these words did not even reach Lin Ke's ears. He frowned and bluntly replied, "Get out." Seeing that the other party was not all hesitant, Baek-song-ji also would not show any mercy. He immediately raised his hand and ordered, "Attack." As soon as they received the order, the subordinates opened fire. However, just after a few gunshots rang out, suddenly something shaped like a jar appeared behind them, emitting smoke and flames. One of them heard the noise and turned around in confusion. Who would have thought that the earlier object was a device capable of spreading fire? In the blink of an eye, the flames spread to several of Baek-song-ji's subordinates. The whole group was caught off guard and was engulfed by the fire. Instead of gunfire, screams now echoed everywhere. While the chaotic scene with flames engulfing the crowd was unfolding, suddenly a woman appeared out of nowhere, standing right in front of them. That woman was none other than Ning Ke. At that moment, she was holding something that looked like a bottle of wine, surely the cause of the recent fire. Ning Ke stood with her hands on her hips, confidently smiling at her own achievement. Taking advantage of the opportunity that Ning Ke had created, Lin Ke quickly ran towards Ji, ready to seize the box containing the bass ore at any moment. On the other side, Ji did not expect this reckless move from Lin Ke. He gritted his teeth in anger, thinking to himself, I can't believe he has such tricks up his sleeve. Immediately after, Lin Ke pulled a sharp knife from his pocket and rushed towards Ji. Without hesitation, he plunged the knife into his abdomen. Ji had no time to evade, managing only to let out a cry, ah! Blood began to pour from his mouth. At the same time, Ji accidentally dropped the black box from his hand to the ground, creating a loud thud. After being stabbed by Lin Ke, Ji had no more resistance left. He seemed to accept the reality and said weakly, I, in the end, have still lost to you. In his final moments, Ji used the last of his breath to remind the one who had defeated him. Young man, be careful of the Va family. Before he could finish his sentence, he collapsed on the floor, not having time to say another word. Lin Ke paid little attention to his words and directly picked up the box. Next, he turned to the staff on the other side and said, if you don't want to die, bring down all the hard drives from the computers. Otherwise, your fate will be like those two just now. In contrast to Ji, these staff members were just ordinary people, lacking the guts to oppose him. A nearby bespectacled employee could only comply, saying, yes, 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 we will do it now. They quickly brought down a pile of computer hard drives and placed them into bags for Lin Ke. The number of hard drives was so great that the bags were almost unable to hold them. After retrieving what he needed, Lin Ke also conveniently took a fire extinguisher with him. As he walked away, he glanced back at the staff and said, not a bad performance. Next, everyone should escape. The fire extinguisher was actually needed by Lin Ke. It turned out that he used it to put out the fire created by Ning Ke to take down a few of Ji's subordinates. As soon as the fire was extinguished, Ning Ke was revealed on the opposite side. With one hand on her hip, she calmly asked, are you done? Instead of answering her question, Lin Ke's gaze shifted in another direction. He unexpectedly asked back, what's wrong? Are you hurt? He had noticed the wound caused by a bullet grazing Ning Ke's leg, which is why he was concerned. Seeing that, she explained, there were too many bullets. It just happened to hit an unprotected spot, but it's fine. He just grazed me. A bit of medicine will do. Upon hearing her, Lin Ke's expression turned somewhat regretful as he replied, what a shame. Your leg is so beautiful. However, it seemed that although the injury was minor, it still couldn't be said to be painless. She hugged her leg and sat down hard on the floor, looking somewhat unwell. Despite that, she insisted on replying, even if it's beautiful, you can't touch it, so this leg is useless now. At that moment, Lin Ke suddenly grabbed Ning Ke's hand. Unexpectedly, he was ready to carry her with him. He said, aren't we touching it now? This made her feel a bit moved. But the following sentence says, however, I can't deny the feelings are not bad. When she heard that, she kicked him with her foot. As soon as Lin Ke got into the car, he placed a black box and a bag containing a hard drive inside. At that moment, he took off the mask and thought about the last words Ji said to him before dying. He wondered, why did Ji remind me to be careful about the Va family just now? When both of them were seated in the car, Lin Ke noticed that Ning Ke did not look well, so he turned to ask her again, how is the wound on your leg? Does it hurt? She was sitting to the side, looking quite unwell. Although it hurt a lot, Ning Ke still tried to endure it and replied, I'm fine. I can manage. Lin Ke heard that, but couldn't bear to see his companion injured like that. He said, wait a moment, I'll buy you some disinfectant when we pass by the pharmacy. Endure a little longer. At this point, her complexion was becoming paler. Even so, she could still joke with him to ease his mind. Having you take care of me is my honor. When the day comes that I want to give birth, I will definitely look for you to assist. He found her statement a bit bewildering and awkwardly replied, in the end, what's so important about this kind of thing? Ning Ke smiled and explained further, because the elders at home say that whoever the children see first will be as capable as that person when they grow up. This matter cannot be taken lightly. After hearing that, he fell silent, not knowing what to say to this girl anymore. After a while, Lin Ke had stopped by the pharmacy to buy first aid supplies for her. Once he bought them, he brought them back to the car. He took out the cotton balls, disinfectant, and the adhesive bandage to help her treat her wound. At that moment, he was holding the cotton ball in his hand, but when he looked down at her feet, he saw that she was still wearing tights. He reminded her, I will now treat your wound. You need to take off your tights. Ning Shi quickly removed the tights as Lin Ke instructed. Although she felt a bit shy and her face was flushed, she still teased Lin Ke, as if to say she was fine. How does this style look? It's the latest model. Exciting, right? Lin Ke didn't know what to say in response, so he replied, you really have no sense of shame. Then he slowly helped her use the cotton ball to treat the wound on her leg. Suddenly, a soft gasp escaped. Ning She, suppressing her pain, said, be gentle. It hurts too much. I can't take it anymore. Regarding Lin Ke, he replied with confusion. The thing I'm holding is disinfectant cotton. What does this have to do with me? Hearing this, she explained, of course. The disinfected cotton is too big. It hurts when placed on the wound. But I can endure it. You can apply pressure. It's fine. At this point, he was truly at a loss for words. He looked at the piece of cotton and couldn't think of anything else to say. After using up a pile of cotton, he finally finished disinfecting Ning She's wound. Then Lin Ke said, let's go to the airport first, and then we'll tell them to take care of her properly. So he drove them both onward. When the sun was nearly shining directly overhead, they finally made their way to the airport after a long journey. In a room, suddenly a sound of a click was heard. Someone from outside opened the door and walked in. This was the room where Lion Jinming and Qiu Yulu were staying. As soon as Qiu Yulu recognized that the newcomers were Lin Ke and Ning She, she went over to greet them. You're back. Upon arriving, Lin Ke handed the black box he obtained from Veg Songji to the other party, saying, hey, just return the result. No explanation needed. After receiving the package, she immediately opened it to check. Once she confirmed everything was in order, she said, this mission turned out to be surprising. There was no danger. In the end, it's completed. Boss Liu will definitely be very happy if he knows we brought the bass oar back. Hearing that, Lin Ke smiled and replied, that's for sure. After all, we didn't incur any losses. Qiu Yulu then said, but don't hold a grudge against Boss Liu in your heart. He's just the supervisor and doesn't have much say in this matter. This really won't help you. On the other side, he responded, you know me. I basically don't think too much about it. Then he pointed to Liang Jinming standing behind and said, you two take the items back to Yanjing. I'm not going. Liang Jinming and I will head directly back to Shanghai. Suddenly, a hand reached out to stop Lin Ke. It was Ning She. She said, don't. You're the one in charge of this, and you deserve the credit. You can't just not go. But Lin Ke politely declined her with a rather strange reason. He replied, the fruits in the greenhouse are about to ripen. I have to go back to sell the fruits, or they will all rot in the greenhouse. Hearing this, Qiu Yu was a bit surprised and asked, is selling fruit more important than the mission? At that moment, he turned around and smiled, responding, of course, for someone who loves life like me, nothing is more important than selling fruit. Immediately after, he waved goodbye to the two girls still in the room, reminding them as he walked, take those hard drives with you too. The material inside is very useful for genetic fluid research. As for how to handle it, let Boss Liu decide. As he stepped outside, Liang Jinming ran after him. He excitedly said to Lin Ke, hey Lin, did you join some mysterious army? You look really cool. Lin Ke, with his hands in his pockets, warned, just think of it that way. But this can't be told to others. A lot happened last night, and you have to keep it absolutely secret. Then he turned to Liang Jinming. If it gets leaked, it won't bring any benefit to the Liang family. Remember that. Liang Jinming replied. Oh. Liang Jinming asked Lin Ke with enthusiasm. Now that you have such a special identity, when I go back to Shanghai, can I hold my head up high? Lin Ke didn't hold back and gave Liang Jinming a light slap on the head, frowning as he scolded. Idiot, you are almost in danger. Can't you be a little more humble? Jinming, being scolded, scratched his head and pouted. The next day, at Jai King Ren and Lin Ke's yellow villa, the bedroom door creaked open. Lin Ke's face appeared as he stepped inside, smiling at Jai King Ren, who was hugging a Pikachu plush toy, while sleeping, her face adorably flushed. She was snoring lightly, and his slender hand wrapped around King Ren's waist, exploring. His mischievous hand gradually moved up. King Ren, in her dream, said, he tickles too much. Suddenly, she kicked straight up into his face, delivering a painful blow. He had to cry out, ah! Quickly, King Ren sat up, clutching the plush toy, her face feeling a little guilty upon seeing Lin Ke in a room. He was holding his face, looking at her with a glare. She lunged in his arms, hitting him while pouting and scolding. I thought a rogue came in and scared me to death. Lin Ke took the opportunity to hold her with a pampering look. He explained, how could that be? The door is fingerprint locked. No one can enter except us. King Ren placed her hand on her chest in fear and said, in the future, you have to say something before coming in. You scared me to death. He took King Ren's hand and led her out of the room, saying, come on, I have bought breakfast for you. She was concerned and asked, "Has everything been resolved over there? How is Mr. Liang? Is he all right?" Lin Ke turned around, appearing unconcerned as he replied, "Of course, he's fine. I'd take him back to the Liang family." Outside the kitchen, the food Lin Ke bought includes orange juice and fried dough sticks. King Ren asked him, "Do you have any plans for today?" Lin Ke poured orange juice into a cup and said, "I need to make a trip back to Complete Joy Village. The fruits there are ripe, and I have to sell them quickly or they will rot, so I probably won't be back today." King Ren took a bite of the fried dough stick and pointed with her finger, commanding, "My company has some work, so I won't go with you. But you must save some for me. I want to eat." Lin Ke proactively handed her the orange juice first, affectionately ruffling her hair, and replied, "Sure, no problem." Although they were in a relationship, King Ren still felt shy and blushed at his intimate gesture. At Complete Joy Village, the film crew was already working, with sound, lighting, and everything else being executed very well. Xiao Yan and her team were discussing the filming projects. She was very enthusiastic and energetic. Lin Ke stepped off the blue car, casually putting his hands in his pockets as he greeted. Filming the show is quite interesting. The fruits are displayed in wooden crates placed in front of the early sunlight. The bananas are perfectly yellow, and the lemons and oranges are juicy. Lin Ke picked up an apple to examine it and said, "Once this batch is sold, the mission will be complete." At that moment, a ringing sound echoed. Lin Ke took out his phone and realized it was his ringtone. It turned out Lu Han was calling. As soon as he answered, Lu Han began to speak rapidly. "I really admire you, achieving such a great accomplishment, yet you didn't come to collect your reward. Instead, you're selling fruit." Liu Hong was sitting in a room, resting his hand on the armrest, and continued to complain. "The organization's training is about to start. As the team leader, how can you not attend?" Lin Ke, tossing the apple, replied, "This is what I call spiritual freedom. Only when the state of mind rises can one understand everything in the world. If you only pursue immediate benefits like this, you won't go far." Liu Hong closed his eyes, his pupils slightly contracted, and said, "I think you have a point. It seems I should leave the organization and start farming." Then he shouted, making Lin Ke pull the phone away from his ear. "Also, you should come over to Yanjing. It doesn't matter if rich people come here. Selling is the same. Hurry back, do you understand?" After saying that, without waiting for Lin Ke to respond, he hung up with a beep, leaving Lin Ke feeling somewhat annoyed. Holding the phone up in front of him, Lin Ke muttered grumpily, "It keeps turning off like this. What kind of person is this?" He stood in the middle of a fruit orchard full of ripe fruit, still holding an apple in his hand. He brought it to his mouth, eating while saying, "It's okay. It can only be sold in Yanjing." Approaching the fruit display, Lin Ke lifted a cardboard box. Seeing him, Xiao Yan walked over and said, "You're back." She was thrown a fresh red apple by Lin Ke, and the apple flew accurately into her palm. Setting the cardboard box down on the ground, she pointed at the boxes of fruit and said, "I just got back this morning, and I came here to see the fruits are all ripe. We have to take them to sell." Xiao Yan stood to the side, covering her mouth, and joked, "I've eaten quite a few fruits at your place nearby. You're not going to charge me, are you?" Lin Ke glanced at the people in the film crew who were moving props to a new spot and asked, "Talking about money is so trivial. The set seems to be busy right now. Will it be okay without you?" Xiao Yan brushed her hair back and confidently winked, "It's lunchtime now. We prepare to continue filming in 2 hours. Even though it's a variety show, we can't film all the time. Later, we can edit and piece it together." With both hands resting on a box of oranges, Lin Ke turned to Xiao Yan and asked, "How does it feel? Is the filming going smoothly?" Xiao Yan held the apple behind his back and replied, "Young people don't really adapt well to this kind of life, but the 2 seasoned actors have performed quite well, still very fresh. The man has adapted quickly, but he's also created quite a few laughs." While they were talking, 2 people, 1 girl and 1 boy, approached. They were 2 hot stars, Zhao Shiki and Wu Wen. Jun Shiki waved and greeted director Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan was startled and turned to look. Zhao Shiki noticed Lin Ke, and her eyes lit up. Covering her mouth with her hand, she charmingly said, "Director Yan, this person is..." Seeing this, Xiao Yan had no choice but to introduce. "I'll introduce you too. His name is Lin Ke. This greenhouse and the fish pond we are using for the shoot belong to him. The peaches I mentioned earlier were grown in this greenhouse." Then Xiao Yan turned and raised his hand toward the 2. "She is Zhao Shiki, and he is Wu Wenjun, the guests of this program." Shiki joyfully raised her hand to greet, while Wenjun's attitude was quite the opposite. He wasn't very cheerful, folding his arms and showing no further expression. Lin Ke offered a standard smile, raised his hand, and said, "Hello." Wu Wenjun, displaying his star attitude, waved dismissively and said, Director Yan, there's no need to introduce us, right? After all, we are all masters in the entertainment industry. I'm sure you know us. Xiao Yan shyly pointed and explained for Lin Ke. Because he usually has a lot of work, he doesn't play on his phone and doesn't know much about the entertainment industry. Wu Wenjun looked at Lin Ke with a contemptuous gaze and said, "That's true. Being busy with farming and pig raising every day, he probably rarely goes online. We don't know anything else either." Hearing those words, Lin Ke's expression hardened, irritatedly glancing at Wu Wenjun thinking, "Where did this kid come from? And yet acts so impressive." Xiao Yan stretched out both hands and asked Shi Qi, "Is there something you need me for?" Shi Qi, feeling shy because Lin Ke was there, replied bashfully, "I saw you come over, so I followed." Then she pointed at the green fruit under the wooden box, her face brightening up as she said, "Right now, I guess he is the owner of this greenhouse, so I wanted to buy some fruit." Lin Ke, hearing this, pointed down at the pile of ripe red apples and asked, "Buy fruit?" Shi Qi's face flushed as she replied, "Yesterday, Director Yan gave me a peach grown in the greenhouse. He also wanted to tell me about its beauty benefits. At first, I didn't believe it, but after eating it, I found the effect to be really good. So I want to buy some, give me a discount." Lin Ke picked up a ripe pink peach and said, "No problem. Normally, the price for selling in the urban area is 3,000 per kilogram. Now I'll sell it to you for 2,500 per kilogram. That should be fine, right?" Both Shi Qi and Wenjun were wide-eyed in surprise. Wenjun shouted, "Ah! 2,500 per pound?" Wenjun angrily pointed at Lin Ke's face. "The highest quality imported fruit is only $20 a pound. You're selling it for 2,500. You think we are celebrities, so you can casually demand a high price." Lin Ke displayed a casual attitude, pointing at Xiao Yan and said, "If you don't believe me, you can ask her. I have always sold at this price. If you think it's too expensive, then don't buy it." Wenjun grabbed Shiki's arm with one hand, holding her hand to advise, "This person is too much of a scammer. We shouldn't buy it. Wait a moment and have the assistant buy it for you. It is much better than buying from him." Xiao Yan hurriedly explained to Shi Qi and Wenjun, "His fruit really is always sold at this price. He's not deceiving you too." Then she raised her hand to explain further, "You know about the effectiveness. Whether to buy it or not, you can decide for yourself. But this is also the last sale. He said he won't sell fruit anymore in the future." Wenjun opened one eye mockingly. "Do you think fruit is a limited edition luxury product, and once it's sold, it will be discontinued? Using marketing tricks is not what you should do. This is not something a farmer like you should be involved in. Stop with these dirty calculations." Lin Ke really couldn't hold back any longer, so he picked up the cardboard box and hit Wenjun directly on the head. He raised his hands in defense. Lin Ke, annoyed, pointed a finger at Wenjun's face and said, "Did we just say that? If you can't afford it, you don't have to buy it. What's the point of all this nonsense? Don't you find it annoying?" Xiao Yan, seeing Lin Ke's attitude, felt scared and thought, Lin Ke is really angry now. In front of Lin Ke's fruit greenhouse stood a group of people, including Lin Ke, Xiao Yan, Wu Wenjun, and Zhao Shi Qi. It seemed that Lin Ke and Wu Wenjun were arguing with each other. Suddenly, Xiao Yan intervened, saying, all right, stop talking." She continued while looking at Lin Ke beside her, "Aren't you supposed to arrange the goods? Hurry up." Lin Ke looked at Xiao Yan with a surprised expression on his face. Then he closed his eyes, raising both hands in a helpless gesture at Xiao Yan's words, and replied, "Okay, I'll go arrange the goods." Just as Lin Ke was about to leave, Zhao Shi Qi called him back. "Mr. Lin, wait a moment." Lin Ke turned around with a look of confusion. Zhao Shi Qi smiled as she ran over to him and said, "I want to buy 2 kilograms of fruit. Can I go into the greenhouse and pick some?" Of course, customers are number one. Lin Ke faced Zhao Shi Qi, extending his hand warmly in invitation. He added, "Feel free to choose for yourself." Zhao Shi Qi and Wu Wenjun brushed past Lin Ke to go inside, but Wu Wenjun looked at him with an annoyed expression and made a noise. Lin Ke didn't pay attention. He still gestured for both of them to come in. After inviting Zhao Shi Qi and Wu Wenjun into the greenhouse, suddenly a hand touched his face. It turned out to be Xiao Yan. Lin Ke turned to look at her, showing a somewhat helpless and pitiful expression. Xiao Yan smiled at him and said, "Calm down, don't argue with ignorant people. The entertainment industry is like this." She placed her hand on his chest and continued, one face in front, another behind. "Their character flaws have nothing to do with you. What you're after is their fame." After hearing her words, Lin Ke closed his eyes, showing a proud demeanor, and replied, "His level is not enough. I simply don't want to pay attention to him." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhao Shiki and Wu Wenjun came over after choosing the fruits. Zhao Shiki held a bag of fruits and smiled at Lin Ke, saying, "Mr. Lin, I'm done choosing, but it seems a bit too much. It must be over 2 kilograms. You can tell me exactly how much I should transfer to you." While Zhao Shiki was speaking, Wu Wenjun stood behind her, still looking at Lin Ke with an annoyed expression. Lin Ke looked at the bag of fruit in Zhao Shiki's hand and said, "Just count it as 2 kilos. Transfer 5,000 to me, and it will be fine." After hearing Lin Ke, Wu Wenjun reached out to stop Zhao Shiki. He said to her, "Shiki, wait a moment." Zhao Shiki looked at him, her face expressionless. After blocking Zhao Shiki, Wu Wenjun stared at Lin Ke with a grimace of annoyance and said, "He is so casual, not giving you much money like that. What if these fruits just look plenty, but the weight is not enough?" Hearing this, Lin Ke frowned, thinking to herself, "What kind of incompetence is this?" After thinking, Lin Ke put her hands in her pockets, stood up straight, and disdainfully replied, "When women buy things, don't you feel embarrassed arguing about money like a woman?" After hearing Lin Ke's words, Wu Wenjun rolled up his sleeves, preparing to fight. Gritting his teeth, he asked, "Who?" Wu Wenjun continued to be irritated and shouted, "Do you think I won't hit you, you idiot? If I..." Before he could finish, Lin Ke kicked him in the stomach. He grimaced in pain, doubling over. Lin Ke slowly retracted her foot, her hands still in her pockets. At this moment, Wu Wenjun was holding his stomach, kneeling on the ground. Meanwhile, Zhao Shiki and Xiao Yan were both very surprised by Lin Ke's actions. Wu Wenjun was in so much pain that his face turned pale. He knelt on the ground, lifted his head, and gritted his teeth, saying, "Are you daring to hit me?" At this moment, Xiao Yan suddenly spoke up, "All right, pay attention to your status." She crossed her arms and looked at Wu Wenjun, who was kneeling on the ground, and continued, "Even though this is the countryside, you still need to be cautious. If you get caught on camera, your future will be ruined." Wu Wenjun still wore a sinister expression, as if he was plotting something. He thought, "Director Yan is right. It's hard to climb to the position of a top star. If I ruin my future over this, it's not worth it." Then he stood up, pointed at Lin Ke, and spoke with annoyance, "I'm too lazy to argue with you. You'd better be careful." Xiao Yan placed her hand on Lin Ke's shoulder and said, all right, stop talking. You two go back first." She pushed Wu Wenjun away and continued, "Get ready. We'll continue filming soon." At this point, Wu Wenjun held his stomach and turned around. Lin Ke and Zhao Shiki still stood still. Zhao Shiki said, "I'm really sorry, here is 5,000, I'll give it to you." She handed the money to Lin Ke with both hands. After that, Zhao Shiki and Wu Wenjun left. Lin Ke remained standing still, watching them walk away, while Wu Wenjun held his stomach, glancing back at Lin Ke as he walked. "Is that person crazy? If you hadn't been here, I would have kicked him to the other side already," Lin Ke said irritably. At that moment, Xiao Yan walked over, wrapped her arms around his, and leaned closely against him. With a charming expression, she said, "He always flatters Zhao Shiki, which is why he didn't sit well with you earlier. Calm down, this is my fault. I promise to make it up to you tonight." After hearing this, Lin Ke leaned closer to Xiao Yan and replied, "This can still be considered as admitting a mistake." As he leaned in, she blushed shyly and smiled in response that "I'll head back now." Xiao Yan walked ahead, then turned around and winked at him. She waved her hand and smiled, saying, "See you later." Wu Wenjun was walking down the street looking tired. He was holding his chest where he had been hurt earlier when he ran into a girl who seemed familiar. She wore a tucked-in blue shirt with gray dress pants, looking very elegant. It turned out she was Miss Lai. Looking sulky, "Did Zhao Shiki say something?" she asked concernedly. Wenjun frowned and angrily recounted, "Don't mention it. I just ran into a dumb farmer. Zhao Shiki went to buy fruit and he wanted 2,500 per kilogram, claiming it was discounted. We argued and then he kicked me." Miss Lee was shocked. Her eyes widened in surprise. "Is there really such a thing? This person is too bold. If you had just brought the bodyguards earlier, it would have been fine. So, did you fight back against him?" "No," Director Yan stopped me. Wenjun gritted his teeth and said with narrowed eyes. His heart was still full of turmoil. Miss Lee gently handed a glass of water to Wenjun to help him calm down and said, "What you did was correct. You are just starting in the industry and are in the early stages of your career. If a fight gets captured by someone, it will definitely have a negative impact on you." Wenjun replied, "Ha, I knew that's why I didn't hit him. I spared his dog's life, but I have no intention of sparing him." He held the glass of water, contemplatively staring into the distance as his mind was calculating. Wenjun irritably added, "Today is the last day. Wait until we finish filming, I'll find someone to teach him a lesson." Wen-jun was angry, his hands clenched tightly onto the armrest. Miss Lai, determined, responded, I will arrange this for you. A fruit farmer. Hitting him will only cause surface pain. I will help you deal with it, making sure he lives as a poor farmer for the rest of his life. Wen-jun was surprised and gave a thumbs up. Thank you, Miss Lai. A phone call was made by Miss Lai shortly afterward. Her face was serious, frowning. Mr. Zhang, I need your help with something. She said, help me contact a reporter and a few keyboard warriors. I have news to share. The next day, in a luxurious room filled with expensive items, a couple was sound asleep together on a soft bed. The phone on the nightstand suddenly rang, its sound echoing and shattering the tranquility of the room. Hello, Lin Ke asked, still sleepy. You foolish farmer, has a pig eaten your brain? A voice on the phone scolded. King Ren, lying beside him, rubbed her eyes and asked, so early, who is it? She was sensually bare-skinned. Are you out of your mind? He was still sleepy, eyes closed, frowning as he spoke. He was puzzled by the unexpected call, staring blankly at the unfamiliar number on the phone. The voice on the phone continued, a lowly bug-selling fruit dared to tease a celebrity. He was startled and sat up, revealing his six-pack body and toned muscles, his face showing clear anger. Lin Ke asked suspiciously, what's going on? I've been a victim of online violence. This is too absurd. One beautiful morning, the sunlight illuminated the towering building, making it shine like a glittering blot, standing out in the city. An employee placed a stack of newspapers on the table and reported, here are the news and reporters regarding your online violence that the Public Relations Department has just arranged. They are very professional. Sal knows online posts and short videos expose your deceit towards the actress. They have also gathered a large number of keyboard warriors to stir things up further. Lin Ke sat in his office chair, seriously picking up each newspaper to read. It can't be that actress, can it? Have you investigated the background of Wu Wen-jun and his manager? He instructed the employee carefully. He uncrossed her arms and showed him her phone with several text messages. We already investigated. Do you think the Ling Yun Group's public relations team is just for decoration? Here's a record of the conversation between his manager and the reporter. They are the ones behind this. Lin Ke was taken aback by this quick information and happily exclaimed, Yuan, you're really amazing. Miss Lai, sitting at the computer in the office, suddenly widened her eyes in astonishment. What's happening? Lin Ke's news has been completely removed. She leaned back in the chair, frowned, and made a phone call. What's the matter? Do you need to find more keyboard warriors to push the news onto hot search? Before she could finish, a loud voice on the phone interrupted her. You stupid fool. You maybe provoked the chairman of Ling Yun Group. His background is huge. Do you think he lacks money? And he's even intimidating a female star. Is there any female star who meets him and doesn't want to offer her body? Miss Lee was struck dumb, her eyes wide, a valuable background. Is he the owner of an expensive business? Suddenly, a loud bang was heard as the door swung open. Miss Lee was startled. A person walked in and asked, what's going on? It turned out to be Wu Wen-jun, his face pale, speaking in a terrified rush. All your announcements have been stopped. They're saying the entire country is paying attention to you. The person you met in Huaxia villages is not an ordinary person. He's the CEO of Ling Yun Group. Along with his fear, he widened his eyes, his pupils nearly popping out. In a chaotic state of mind, he panicked and knelt down, grasping Miss Lai's hands and pleading. Miss Lai, I know I was wrong. Please give me another chance. Miss Lai was extremely unhappy. In the eyes of wealthy people, movie stars are merely toys. In reality, they are nothing at all. From now on, I doubt I can work in this industry anymore. Then she decided, let's go to Complete Joy Village and apologize to Boss Lin. Despite her discomfort, Miss Lai still tried to help Wu Wen-jun. The atmosphere of the village was very peaceful. Wu Wen-jun and Miss Lai had prepared many gift bags to bring to Lin Ke's house. They called for Lin Ke to come out to talk, and he was a bit surprised to see them, unable to help but ask, why are you two here? Wu Wen-jun hurriedly apologized. Boss Lin, I'm sorry. We were blind to the situation. I hope you can forgive us. Miss Lai also agreed with Wu Wen-jun. That's right, Boss Lin. We only got to know each other after the fight. I hope you can be more considerate from now on. She even presented an apology gift to Lin Ke. Lin Ke looked at the pile of gift bags in his hands. You have quite a bit of sincerity. He was surprised that they came all the way at his house to apologize, and even more surprised to see so many gifts. But immediately after, he threw all the gifts on the ground. He didn't care at all. Wu Wen-jun and Miss Lai were very shocked by Lin Ke's actions. Lin Ke, with a serious expression, closed his eyes and believed that everyone is an adult and must learn to bear the consequences of their actions. Therefore, I cannot help with this matter. Find a way on your own. He spoke with a very resolute tone, not elaborating further. Then Lin Ke slammed the door shut. leaving Wu Wenjun and Miss Lai outside without a chance to react. As he opened the door and stepped inside, someone in the house asked, "Who is looking for you?" Xiao Yan, wrapped in a thin bath towel to cover the necessary areas, asked Lin Ke, "Is it convenient for you to be here?" Lin Ke smiled gently upon seeing Xiao Yan in front of him, treating her in stark contrast to the way he treated Wu Wenjun and the others. "Are you about to take a bath, or have you just finished?" he asked in return. "If you say it's not convenient, isn't that a bit too intense?" Lin Ke said with a double meaning. Xiao Yan understood and, covering her chest with her hand, protested, "I just took off my clothes and was about to shower when I heard someone calling for you. It's not just intense, it's about to drive me crazy. I'm going out the back door," Xiao Yan continued. Lin Ke quickly grabbed Xiao Yan's towel. "Don't go. I'm just joking. You're not that important." She pouted in embarrassment. "If you dare do that again next time, I will bite you." Lin Ke hugged Xiao Yan, his eyes filled with affectionate provocation. "Don't you often bite me? Moreover, your biting technique is getting more and more proficient." Despite Lin Ke's teasing, he never forgot to pay attention to Xiao Yan. Seeing that Xiao Yan had not taken a shower yet, he asked, "Why are you showering so late? Were you busy?" "Today is the last day of the first term, and I've just finished filming. I also had to deal with a lot of trivial matters, which is why it took me until now to finish," Xiao Yan replied. Exhausted, she headed toward the bathroom. Unable to hold himself back, Lin Ke opened the bathroom door and peered inside with a mischievous smile. "Taking a shower alone is so boring. How about we go together?" Xiao Yan immediately protested. "I will never go with you. Is it really up to you to decide this?" Lin Ke ignored her objection. Once inside, he closed the door behind him. Xiao Yan's towel fell to the floor, and then the young couple enjoyed an intimate moment. The next morning on the plane, Lin Ke walked through a cabin and saw a basket of fresh fruit on the food cart. He immediately thought of Shen Su Yi and Liang Ru Yu. "I'll bring some over to Aunt Shen shortly," he told himself. When Lin Ke arrived at Shen Su Yi's company, the receptionist saw him carrying the fruit basket and asked, "Hello, may I ask who you were looking for?" He stood straight at the reception desk and replied, "I'm looking for CEO Shen." "Do you have an appointment?" The receptionist continued to act normally, unaware of the relationship between the person in front of her and CEO Shen. Lin Ke raised his phone. On the phone was a picture he took with Liang Ru Yu, the two of them holding hands very affectionately. Lin Ke happily said, "I am the son-in-law of CEO Shen. I guess I don't need an appointment, right?" "Son-in-law of CEO Shen?" The receptionist seemed enlightened and exclaimed. She said, "Is there anyone more important than the family of CEO Shen?" The receptionist cautiously and carefully directed Lin Ke. "Hello, Mr. Lin. CEO Shen's office is on the top floor. After you exit the elevator, go to the right. I will arrange for someone to take you up." Lin Ke only wanted to thank the receptionist and didn't need her to escort him. He happily waved his hand to decline. "There's no need for such trouble. I can go by myself." Lin Ke walked to the elevator hallway. There were also people waiting in front of the elevator. A middle-aged woman turned her head and noticed the person approaching. Upon seeing Lin Ke, she couldn't help but exclaim in her heart, "This young man is really handsome." It seemed that Lin Ke was not paying much attention, casually making his way to the elevator. At that moment, the elevator just arrived at their floor. She turned and asked, "Which floor are you going to?" He smiled and replied, "The top floor. Thank you." She glanced down at the fruit basket he was holding, thinking to herself, a basket of fruit so exquisite must be from a delivery person. Zhao Lei took out a business card and smiled as she handed it to him, asking, "What's your name, young man?" Lin Ke was surprised when she gave him the business card, only managing to utter a word. Zhao Lei swept her hair to one side and said, "Do you have time tonight? I would like to invite you to dinner." Seeing her demeanor, he thought to himself, "It seems she wants to be my sugar mama." After hearing Zhao Lei's words, he squinted and asked back. Zhao Lei was flustered, blushed, and replied, "That's not really the idea. I just want to get to know you. If you agree, I can help you change jobs. At least it can elevate your status a few levels." Lin Ke smiled to himself, thinking, you can tell she's cultured. A sugar mama saying it so lightly and cleanly has a bit of sordidness to it. He smiled and replied, "I will think about it." Zhao Lei stepped out of the elevator, then turned back, winking and saying, "Okay then, I'll wait for your call." As the elevator doors closed, Lin Ke was left alone. His expression darkened and he muttered, "Boring." The scene shifted to someone holding a teacup, saying, "I still have a document to review. Wait a bit for the secretary to bring it over for me to look at. After that, we will go eat." Thinking back, it has been 30 years since we last shared a meal together, Miss Liang said. Qin Yingyu, sitting across from her, quickly responded, "I remember at that time, you and Mr. Liang were about to get married, and for several days you dragged me shopping with you." While yawning, Qin Yingyu continued, I couldn't dare to say the clothes and blankets you picked out weren't beautiful. Miss Liang immediately countered her statement. If your taste had been good back then, you would have chosen Mr. Lin for me. Who knows, Lin Ke might be your son by now. After saying that, Miss Liang raised her teacup to her mouth, enjoyed a sip, and then asked, "What have you been up to these past few months?" Qin Yingyu happily replied when asked, "Traveling, I've been to a few small cities in the country. It turns out I've enjoyed it. You really are quite free and easygoing. I, on the other hand, haven't traveled anywhere other than for work in a long time." Miss Liang quickly replied as well, putting her teacup down on the table and continuing. "A big career like that is waiting for you. You can't compare it to someone as idle as me." Qin Yingyu answered, "Moreover, your Liang family is developing rapidly now. Except for your Liu family, no one across the country dares to point fingers at us. But it must be said, this really deserves thanks to Lin Ke. If it were for him creating the opportunities, the Liang family wouldn't even have the qualifications." Qin Yingyu listened and asked a few more questions. "How is the Wang family now? Are there any actions?" "Not for the time being," Miss Liang replied. She continued, "Everything is very quiet. However, it seems that the Qin family is not very peaceful." Without thinking much, as soon as she finished speaking, the lady quickly replied, "A few days ago, Lin Ke hit Qin Yanling, but the injury is not too serious, just a broken wrist." Qin Yingyu widened her eyes in surprise upon hearing this. Why did they fight? Once she calmed down, she continued to ask, "How do they know each other?" Miss Liang said, "Isn't Lin Ke part of an organization? She became friends with Qin Yanling's girlfriend. My sister's grandson suspected that they were involved with each other, and then they fought." After thinking for a moment, she continued, "This matter is also quite vague. Years ago, Lin Jingjian beat my two brothers, and now my child is fighting with the second brother's child. This father and son duo also seems to enjoy bullying others." Qin Yingyu sighed and heavily closed her eyes, responding, "Really have no way to deal with those two. Who can be at ease?" Hearing a knock on the door, Miss Liang stood up, turning to her while walking, and replied, "It must be the secretary. After you finish reviewing the contract, we can go have a meal." The door suddenly swung open before she could get close. Both people looked toward the door, their expressions full of surprise. Qin Yingyu widened her eyes, her face shocked. Tears began to flow down her cheeks. She turned away, trying to avoid being noticed. Meanwhile, Shen Suyi was chatting with Lin Ke. "Why did you come? The staff downstairs didn't inform me." Lin Ke smiled, holding up a basket of fruit in response. "The higher-ups arranged this, so I came to bring you some fruit. I told them not to say anything to surprise you, but it seems you have guests. I'll leave the fruit here and go now." Suddenly, she raised her hand, signaling him to stay. "Wait, don't go." She warmly invited him. "It's already lunchtime. Stay and have a meal before you leave." Upon hearing this, Lin Ke politely declined. "I'm about to start calling you mother-in-law, so why be so formal with me? You have guests. How can I stay for a meal?" Suyi remained resolute, pointing at Yin Yu and saying, "She's a close friend of yours, not a stranger. You're just going to the company cafeteria for a simple meal." Suyi's determination made Lin Ke uncomfortable. He could only smile awkwardly. Suyi stole a glance at her friend, who was sitting with her back turned on the chair. She thought to herself, if I now arrange an opportunity for her and Lin Ke to meet, she'll probably say she's not ready for the rest of her life. This time, it's a chance given by the heavens. Lin Ke scratched his head and shyly said, "It's not good to say that. I don't even know her. I'm fine with it, but I'm afraid she might feel awkward." At this moment, all three were settled on the sofa. Suyi sat next to Ying Yu, while Lin Ke sat across from them. Hearing Lin Ke's response, she persuaded him. "We're over 50 years old. We could both be mother and child. What's there to be shy about?" Lin Ke felt embarrassed and thought to himself that this comparison was a bit strange. In the end, he accepted the invitation. "All right, if Miss Shen says so. That answer pleased Su Yi, and she smiled gently as she convinced Lin Ke. Su Yi happily got up and turned to Ying Yu, saying, "Let's go, it's time. Let's eat." She grabbed her friend's hand and pulled her along. The three quickly stepped out of the room and headed to the restaurant. Su Yi still held onto Ying Yu's hand tightly, while her other hand held the small yellow box, urging, let's go, I'm hungry." Meanwhile, Lin Ke stuffed his hands into his pockets and strode along behind them. On the way, an employee from the company approached Shen Su Yi. She reported the situation. "Shen CEO, the BAS or contract is ready." As she spoke, she handed the folder to her. Su Yi temporarily did not accept the proposal from the employee. "Leave it in my office. We will deal with it tomorrow." The girl received it and politely responded, "Yes." Lin Ke glanced at the employee who had just passed by, going in the opposite direction from him. He looked serious and scrutinized. He then looked at Ying Yu, wondering to himself, what could make the cold woman Shen Su Yi treat someone like this? If she doesn't even care about the company's contract, how good must their relationship be? He recalled the scene earlier and thought confusedly, but why did that woman's gaze at me just now seem a bit strange? After walking for a while, the three of them arrived at the dining hall. Lin Ke noticed the golden box that Su Yi was carrying was a cherry box. The plum bread cherries were arranged on the dining table. She invited Ying Yu to try them and pointed, "You should try these cherries. They're homegrown. I had them once before. They were incredibly delicious." But perhaps Ying Yu was not paying much attention to her, as she was busy staring anxiously at her brother sitting across from her, who was enjoying his lunch. Then she turned around and smiled politely, saying, "I'm not eating. You should eat." Seeing this, Su Yi curiously asked, "Why not eat? This kind of fruit can only be found where you are. Come on, try it. It's really delicious." Prompted in this way, she reluctantly took the fruit offered by her friend and tasted a piece. She explained, "I've really never had such delicious fruit before." After that, Shen Su Yi suddenly turned to interrogate Lin Ke. "You hit Qin Yan Ling from the Qin family a few days ago, right?" Startled while chewing his food, he asked back in surprise, "Did you already know about this, huh?" Her face became serious as she continued, "Yanjing is a small place and news spreads quickly. I even heard they went to find Mr. Liu to reason with him, but Mr. Liu isn't interested in this matter. Shanghai is your territory, but this is Yanjing, not a place where you can do as you please. Be careful." She continued to remind him. Hearing this, Ying Yu silently glanced over, lifting her glass to take a sip. Lin Ke nodded obediently, smiling as he picked up another piece to reply. "Thank you, Aunt Shen." The aunt glanced over at Ying Yu and saw that she had started eating her meal. She thought to herself, "After so many years, this is the first time that I and my son are sitting at the same table to have a meal together. There must be countless things to talk about. I'll ask him about these issues." Taking advantage of the meal, Shen Su Yi asked Lin Ke, "Do you have any plans for the future? What's your plan like?" He was taken by surprise while holding his cup of water. As he answered, he raised the cup to drink. "Actually, I don't have any specific plans. Just take it step by step, learn more skills, and focus on making money. There's just this little thing, growing fruit and raising pigs is also quite good." Although Shen Su Yi heard this, she still felt a bit concerned. She sincerely advised him, "Only when you grow strong will you have the ability to take care of yourself and those around you. You are still far from that, not enough yet." Lin Ke clenched his fists, raising them to his chest, showing excitement, just like a child joking around. "I'm even less afraid with Aunt Shen backing me up. Who dares to touch Lin Ke?" Seeing this, Shen Su Yi sighed, clasped her hands together, and affectionately scolded him, "Kiddo." Ying Yu also raised her hand to her mouth and laughed at the cute expression of her son. At the same time, two pairs of legs belonging to two women appeared. They were standing in front of the door and stepping into the dining room. It was Mike Xiaoping, the director of the investment department of the Whole Run Group, and the person next to her was Zhao Lei, the general manager of the side group. She respectfully asked Xiaoping for her opinion. "Miss Ma, I just reported to you. How do you feel about it?" The other replied, "I think it's quite good. You belong to the chip packaging company. The country is still in the rising stage, and as long as you work hard, you will definitely have a place in the domestic semiconductor industry in the future." Mike Xiaoping also made a suggestion, but 3.8 billion is a bit high. "I can't guarantee it, but I can definitely bring the price down to over 2.5 billion. Hearing this, Zhao Lei felt a bit awkward, rubbing her hands together. Her mouth still smiled in response. "We just see the potential of this market, but we have to stick to the figure of 3.8 billion. We hope Miss Ma can help us more." Xiaoping immediately said, "You are a person I respect in introduction. I no longer see you as an outsider." This surprised Zhao Ling a bit. Then the lady commented and sincerely suggested, "Actually, your proposal is very good. Why not try to go to Ling Yun Corporation? They are the leading company in the semiconductor and internet industry in the country. An investment of 3.8 billion for them is just a drop in the bucket." Zhao Lei gently brushed her hair, feeling awkward. She explained, "Their CEO seems to be a mysterious figure. Ordinary people rarely get to meet him. The company's business is mainly handled by the senior vice president. We submitted the plan before, but they have yet to reply." She continued the story while Xiao Ping listened attentively. Then the lady patted her shoulder to show comfort. "Don't be discouraged. This project is certainly better than having no investment at all." She encouraged her, and then Xiao Ping warmly invited her to have a meal. "Let's have a meal in the cafeteria. The chefs here are all 5-star rated, very skilled." Zhao Lei immediately smiled and agreed. "Then I won't be polite to Miss Ma anymore." Suddenly, Mike Xiaoping froze as if she had just caught sight of something. Surprisingly, she suddenly exclaimed, "Oh my, CEO Shen is eating here." Su Yi, who was sitting at the table and wiping her mouth, also had to pay attention to that noise. Zhao Lei did not know who that person was and quietly asked Xiao Ping, "Is that Shen CEO?" She subtly confirmed, "If we don't meet, that's fine, but since we have met, let's say hello." Suddenly, she was shocked to see that the person eating with Shen Su-yi and Ying Yu was Lin Ke. She scratched her face awkwardly, smiling hesitantly, thinking, "I must have mistaken them. How can a clothing seller be eating with Shen CEO?" After seeing Shen Su-yi, she politely bowed her head in greeting. Mrs. Xiao Ping spoke first. "Are you also here for a meal?" She replied briefly as a form of common courtesy after finishing a conversation. Then, Xiao Ping pointed to Zhao Lai, introducing, "This is the CEO of the Psy Group." Zhao Li had just finished discussing an investment before coming here for a meal. Next, she politely bent down and said, "Hello." Shen Su-yi also smiled politely in return as a greeting. Suddenly hearing a familiar voice, Lin Ke looked over while chewing. He saw the woman in front of him and, surprised to see her again from the elevator, stammered, "Is it you?" This made Zhao Lei a bit nervous. She turned pale, raised her hand to cover her smile, and said, "Actually, it's a bit surprising. I didn't expect to meet you here." Xiao Ping observed the situation and asked, "Do you two know each other?" She quickly introduced, "This is Shen Su-yi. Let me introduce you too. This is Lin Ke, the CEO of Ling Yun Group." Meanwhile, Lin Ke smirked and enjoyed the last sip of his drink. The words from CEO Shen startled Zhao Lei, leaving her in shock with her mouth agape. She awkwardly stepped forward, shook hands with him, and stammered, "Mr. Lin, hello." Lin Ke also smiled and shook her hand in return, greeting her hello. Zhao Li politely said to Shen Su-yi, "If you'll excuse us, we won't disturb your meal any longer." "Please go ahead," Su-yi replied, propping her hands on the table with a smile. Then she warmly invited the two guests. "The Cali tuna is quite good today. You two should try it." Zhao Li bowed slightly in gratitude. "All right, thank you, CEO Shen." She and Ma Xiao Ping left. As they walked, they chatted. Xiao Ping asked first, "What was that about?" "You know Mr. Lin?" This made Zhao Li's face turn red, appearing quite embarrassed. She immediately covered her face and sighed, saying, "Ha, don't mention it anymore. I want to find a place to stomp my head to death. This is so embarrassing." It seemed that Xiao Ping understood something. She was anxious, smirking knowingly, urging her to speak up. "It's not like it's someone outside. Why keep hiding it? Tell me, what is it really about?" Zhao Lei knew she couldn't hide it anymore. She covered her mouth with her hand and whispered to her companion. Just now in the elevator, Xiao Ping was also nervously watching. After hearing her story, she laughed so hard that her face turned red, tears streaming down as she exclaimed, "You did great, and you made a request like that to Mr. Lin." Xiao Ping's somewhat exaggerated reaction made Zhao Li just cover her face and sigh, feeling even more embarrassed. Still in fits of laughter, she pointed at Zhao Li and announced, "I've heard that Lin Ke is CEO Shen's son-in-law." That information surprised her a little. She stammered her thoughts after hearing it. "So that's how it is. They really are a perfect match, both being very outstanding people." Suddenly, Ma Xiao Ping slapped her hard on the shoulder, then placed her whole hand on it, suggesting she go down to the parking lot to stop him. "When you see Mr. Lin, you should go right to the investment table with him. Who knows, it might work out. At that point, our top Lang Young Group investment behind you would be even more reliable, wouldn't it?" Hearing this made Zhao Lei feel like he had struck gold, and he clenched his fist with determination. "Okay, I will do as you say." The food on the table for the three people, Shen Su-yi, Ying Yu, and Lin Ke, had all been finished. The fish, vegetables, and water had all been consumed. They wiped their mouths after the meal, and just then, Su-yi asked Lin Ke, "What company was that? Is it a subsidiary investing in something?" He immediately denied, "No, it's not." While drinking water, he smirked and recounted what had happened earlier in the elevator. "It seems like he has a crush on you, and he even gave you his business card." Shen Su-yi chuckled, putting her hand to her mouth in praise. "Haha, you are too outstanding." As she spoke, she turned to Ying Yu, who was still wiping her mouth, and noticed the two women exchanging glances suggestively. Lin Ke, confused, thought, "Why are these two exchanging flirtatious glances?" Shen Su-yi then urged him, "The delivery is here and you've finished eating. Go take care of your work." Upon hearing this, Lin Ke slipped his hand into his pocket, braced himself on the table to stand up. "Excuse me, I will take my leave now." Watching his back as he left, Ying Yu couldn't hold back her tears but could only quietly observe her child. Seeing her friend so emotional, Shen Su-yi sympathetically handed her a handkerchief and encouraged her. "He has gone far away. Quickly wipe your tears. It's not a separation for life and death. Don't you often get to see him?" Ying Yu took the handkerchief, wiping the tears that remained on her cheeks. Her mood seemed to be gradually improving. She said, "That's not wrong, but I'm not sure if there will be another opportunity like this in the future." Shen Su-yi comforted her. "Okay, don't be sad anymore. Let's go." She stood up, pointing to indicate Lin Ke leisurely walking in the parking lot. His hands were in his pockets, looking very relaxed. Suddenly, Zhao Li came over from somewhere, cheerfully waving at him. "Mr. Lin, hello." Seeing her, he jokingly said, "Do you still want to support me now?" "Just in time. I'm also short on cash. How much are you planning to give me for a month?" Zhao Li rubbed her neck. Looking embarrassed by his joke, "Mr. Lin, please don't mock me anymore. It was a misunderstanding earlier." She continued to explain, "If I had known you were the CEO of Ling Yun Corporation, I wouldn't have dared to say that even with all the courage in the world." He then asked, "So, what do you need from me?" Zhao Lei stood in front of him, carefully introducing herself. "Mr. Lin, let me reintroduce myself. I am the CEO of Psy Company. Our company specializes in chip packaging, the final stage in the semiconductor industry." The girl held out a binder full of documents. Lin Ke slowly took it. She explained, "This is our fundraising plan. I hope you can take a look." He glanced through the first few pages, deeply focused without casting even a glance at the other person. He softly asked, "How much money is needed?" Her attitude was incredibly polite. With a bright smile, she replied, "Our fundraising plan requires 3.8 billion. But to specify how much we want to invest depends on how much Mr. Lin is considering with us. Perhaps for a director, the amount needed to invest was as trivial as a shedding cow or a tree losing its leaves." He handed the document back to Zhao Lei and lightly remarked, 3.8 billion for 44% ownership. Comparatively, it's acceptable. You should approach Kai Xi and Zhao at the group and say that I asked them to invest in you." Faced with this swift business demeanor, Director Li was taken aback, to the point where her eyes were filled with confusion. She had to confirm again, fearing she'd had misheard. "Huh? Are you really going to invest in us? Aren't you going to look it over again? Or at least hold a discussion meeting?" Lin Ke remained very calm. "It's not that much money. Just go find Kate, C, and Zhao and request the investment." After that, he turned and leisurely walked away, even waving goodbye. Zhao Lei was overjoyed and bowed, saying, Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lin." Seeing the figure standing by the road waving for a taxi, she took a longer look, her heart continuously marveling. Such is the difference with big companies. 3.8 billion was just like a drizzle to him. The next moment, Zhao Lei called out loudly, "Mr. Lin." Being called out by name like that, Lin Ke was startled and looked in her direction. Zhao Lei walked over slowly, approaching with a very gentle and sincere tone. "Are you about to catch a ride? My car is right next to us. If Mr. Lin doesn't mind, I can drive you there." Lin Ke did not refuse and replied, "That's fine. Sorry to trouble you." Before long, the two of them had arrived at the building where the event was held. Lin Ke got out of the car and walked inside, immediately hearing Director Zhao's voice. "Thank you, Mr. Lin, for this opportunity. Call at any time, I will be there." He smiled and waved goodbye as he entered the building. A moment later, the office door opened. He walked up to Lu Hong's desk, who welcomed him with joy. "Have you arrived? Please have a seat." Lin Ke leisurely sat down on the chair, crossed his legs, and asked, "When does the training officially begin? It has been delayed for quite some time, hasn't it?" The elderly man was pouring hot water from a thermos, steam rising gently in the room. Through his weathered face, Lu Hong looked at him for a long time before continuing. "It starts tomorrow. You are now the team leader of Team 1. After the training is finished, you will have the first choice of tasks." Mr. Liu gently pushed the warm glass of water forward and calmly advised, "Do well. Stop messing around. After 3 years of focusing on the right things, in another 5 years, you could climb up to the position of director. The future ahead is bright." Lin Ke listened to the guidance while holding the warm glass of water, wanting to savor it. He thought about negotiating. At the very least, it should be 3 years. Is there a way to shorten the time? Liu Hong seemed to know the answer and immediately replied without hesitation. "The only way is if something unexpected happens to me and the organization has no one to replace me. Then you'd step in." Mr. Lin listened carefully to each word, unable to hide his smile, full of praise. This method is quite good. Seeing that the other party might want to pursue this option, Mr. Liu frowned, shifted to another topic, crossed his arms, and questioned, "All right, stop talking nonsense with me. What are you busy with in Shanghai? If you weren't invited, you wouldn't come over at all, right?" Feeling wrong, Lin Ke quickly protested, "My fruit cart is still at the airport. If I don't sell it soon, it will rot in a few days." He then pointed to the nearby box, which he had been curious about, and asked, "Has anyone checked the contents of the hard drive? Is it useful?" Lu Hong leaned his elbows on the table, fingers interlocked, his expression extremely serious. He explained, "Of course there is a function, but regarding the research on genetic fluid in the water, it is not applicable. The higher-ups also have no intention of conducting in-depth research in this area. They plan to use it in other fields. Lin Ke understood the situation and did not refute it. Instead, he replied, "That's true. Something that goes against reason, a person like that is indeed not very suitable for us." Suddenly, the old man's attitude became very stern and uneasy. Liu Hong pointed directly at him and stated, "This morning, Mr. Liu called and said he wanted to meet you. If you are free, you should go there now." Lin Ke was full of confusion. What does such a high-ranking leader want to meet me for? Mr. Liu returned to his gentle tone and continued, "This time I don't know. It's getting late. You achieved second place twice in a row. If they're looking for you, it must be a good thing. I'll send you the address on your phone. You should hurry." Noticing the urgency of the other party, he slowly stood up from the comfortable chair. "I will go there now." Under the gentle, bright yellow sunlight, in a place where the sky was as fresh as new, an old man with white hair sat in the middle of a courtyard in an old-style house. One hand held a fan to cool himself, while the other lifted a cup of tea to his lips for a sip. Sensing a noise, the old man raised his eyes to look ahead. The leather shoes of Lin Ke gradually came into his view. He looked indifferently at the person in front of him, the teapot wafting with a fragrant aroma. The old man with white hair smiled and said, "All right, I've been waiting for you for half a day." Lin Ke sat down and asked, "Mr. Liu, are you looking for me regarding something?" Mr. Liu Baichen poured tea and said with a smile, "Let's see. This is Dahong Pao from the Mother Tree on Wei Mountain." Lin Ke picked up the freshly brewed hot tea and asked with a smile, "You went out of your way to find me just to drink tea, right?" Mr. Liu Baichen laughed, fanning himself with a fan, and asked, "What's the situation on the island like?" He closed his eyes to savor the tea and said, "Wei Songji is dead. If no one stands up, it will probably all dissolve." Mr. Liu Baichen continued, "Now the only ones that can research and develop genetic fluid are the Va family. What do you think of the capabilities of both sides?" Lin Ke replied, "Wei Songji is not much inferior to the Va family." He smiled while looking at the man fanning himself and said, "It's not easy to talk about the strength and inner workings of the Va family. I can only see a tip of the iceberg. I can't guess the specific situation." Mr. Liu Baichen asked, "You are now the team leader of Team 1. How should we arrange things?" Lin Ke smiled and replied, "I will do as the superiors arrange. I don't have any advantages. I just listen and follow instructions. Wherever I'm needed, I will go." Mr. Liu Baichen laughed as he looked at him and said, "Kiddo, every day you only know how to chatter with me." He stood up and said with a smile, "Then come with me. I will introduce you to someone." Lin Ke calmly asked, "Who is it?" Then, at a house with a red gate, Lin Ke followed Mr. Liu Baichen. He said, "Whether it's good or not, you can see for yourself." At a place where many people were standing, there were voices in front of a crowd. Lin Ke asked, "What's going on?" Two people turned around, saw Lin Ke and Mr. Liu Baichen approaching, and then began to split to the sides, making way for the two of them. Mr. Liu Baichen smiled at everyone and said, "This level is decent. Sui Chang is lifting weights." One person in the crowd said, "This person is named Su Kang. He is the nephew of a friend of mine. I have heard about him before, and I feel his level is not bad. He has already reached level D. His innate ability is very good, and his level is also quite high." Lin Ke looked at him and said, "Really strong, but the training facilities and equipment of everyone compared to the organization are indeed a bit lacking, interesting, too unprofessional. Not a comprehensive view." Mr. Liu Baichen chuckled and nodded happily, saying, "The training conditions certainly cannot be compared to the organization. I just wanted you to assess a bit, if possible, then keep one for your team." Lin Ke looked at him and said, "Tomorrow is the official trial training day. At that time, call them to the organization. That would be more appropriate." Mr. Liu Baichen laughed, looking at Lin Ke and said, "Fool." He also laughed, looking at him and asked, "Am I really too incompetent in handling things?" Mr. Liu Baichen touched Lin Ke's shoulder and said, "Not even giving me face. For many years, you were the second person." Mr. Liu Baichen looked ahead, thinking, "Your father is the first." Grandfather Su Chang came out with a man. He smiled and said, "Mr. Liu, is my grandson okay?" Mr. Liu Baichen nodded and replied, "I think it's fine, but their team leader is not very satisfied. We should let him attend the training tomorrow to see the overall performance." He looked at Lin Ke and asked, "Team leader, do you think this person is too young?" Grandfather Su Chang said, "Leader Lin, I would like to ask you what exactly you are not satisfied with. Can you tell me?" Lin Ke smiled wryly and said, "Please don't misunderstand. I didn't say he is not good. It's just that I feel the training conditions here are a bit simple. Let's wait until tomorrow when the official trial training starts. It would be more appropriate to conduct a comprehensive test there."